the coach's operative mindset. And I'd love for you just to kind of explain what this means.
This is the mindset that a coach has whenever they're working. It is an intentional mindset that the coach cultivates within themselves when they are coaching, and often when they're not coaching as well. And it is a way of being. And so I think that one of the most important aspects of this operative mindset is unconditional positive regard. And what that means is I am going to be approaching every single person I work with unconditional respect and positive regard. That is how I should be approaching any relationship that I have with a client, regardless of my biases, which of course they exist because I'm a human, regardless of internal or external influences. My goal, my intention with every person that I work with is that sense of ultimate respect and empathy with that person. And I think it's important for the client to know that, because coaching can be a bit of an uncomfortable process. It asks you to understand yourself better. And that is not an easy thing to do sometimes, right? It can be very uncomfortable for people. And so what that means is really the coach's, and should be the coach's intent, to create a safe space, a safe container for the client to grow, to feel uncomfortable, and to experience new things and ways of being in the world. And so I want every client to know that coming into the conversation. One, because it sets an expectation, but two, because again, coaching is a relationship. And all of the research that we have shows that coaching outcomes come from the quality of the relationship. And so that's why it's just so important for a coach to start with that operative mindset and to start beginning and end with that mindset.
I have a few different thoughts. The first is it sounds like with the unconditional positive regard, you are explicitly saying to the person you're working with, like, hey, we're going to experience discomfort. Like that's what we have to do in order to grow, but I'm going to be kind of with you every step of the way.
Yes. Exactly.
The second point is you said like the outcomes depend on how strong the relationship is between
that's in coaching and in therapy. Outcomes for the client are all it's all dependent upon the quality of the relationship, the working alliance. That's why I use the term working alliance, because that's where the outcomes come from. And it's not about necessarily the methods the coach uses, though there are some scientifically validated methods. But those methods that are scientifically validated are ultimately contributing to the quality of the relationship.
I'm curious, when you say the outcomes are dependent on it, is there a sense of the client is like, I don't want to leave my coach down? Or there's obviously something more psychological to that, right?
Yeah, that's definitely not the intention, right? We don't want the client to become dependent on us. That's not sustainable, and it's not about us in that sense. It's about the client feeling supported. It's about the client feeling that they've got this, there's a relational aspect. Everything I do leans into their autonomy and honoring that, but it's me being able to support them in that process, for them to have some sort of stable sense of connection that I think is really what's important here, right? For me being able to empathize and validate their experiences. And that's really what helps to build their self-efficacy and their own confidence.
It's kind of like your one steps, if we think like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You have your psychological needs at the bottom, like they breathe, they have food, they have water, then the safety and security is on top of that. You can work with that. They might be trying to improve their health and stuff like that to improve their family and social abilities. But then you have the love and belonging as the next stage. And it really sounds like that's where the heart of that's where the coach really lives and can kind of help them build to that next area of self-esteem from there as well. So you're kind of at the core of that concept as well, and you provide them with, friendship's the wrong word, but you provide them with that support that you were saying, that kind of sense of connection as well.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about when you're successful in your own life regardless of coaching, with the things that you want to achieve, for a lot of people, it's because they have the support and the connection and the validation that they and the empathy that they need, right? Not everybody has that. And that's when coaching can be a benefit as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a big reason for this podcast, around the connection and community or communication aspect as well. There's something really, really innately important in it as well. And it's cool to see how you infuse that in your coaching practice as well.
Yeah.
How does the kind of coach operative mindset, how does it influence?
I think this idea of partnership is really important, right? Mm-hmm. So I come into my perspective as the coach is I come into this relationship with some expertise in things like behavior change and coaching psychology and sort of ways to kind of help you build awareness of yourself yourself, etc. But you are the expert on your own life. You know your life far better than I do, which is why I don't tell you what to do, right? Because I could tell you, you need to go to the gym this day and this day and this day at this time. And you're going to be like, Leslie, that does not work for me. And so that's why I don't tell you what to do, right? So my job is to lean into your own expertise about your own life, and kind of we use that together to jointly strategize about what you could try or what might work. I think what's important about that sense of partnership, though, is that like that means that the client has to do some work, ideally more work than the coach. If I'm doing more work than the client, then that's a problem, because then that's not what coaching is. That's me consulting or me educating. That's me being the expert. And so when you go into a coaching relationship, go in with the expectation that you're going to be doing some work to make changes for your life, right? And not everybody is ready for that, and that's entirely okay.
Yeah, that can be difficult. Yeah, you're putting money into something, and hey, I'm putting money into this, but I still have to do all the work. Like, what's the catch? Yeah,
right.
Sometimes it's hard to see because there's maybe no like instant gratification. Maybe there is. I mean, the relationship building can be fun and gratifying as well. But I guess in terms of like your health goals, you might see changes at the beginning, but you're always going to experience like those peaks and troughs as you go through it, and that could be tough for the client to navigate too, right?
Yeah, and that kind of brings up another good point about sort of the operative mindset. There are times where we can have a single coaching session and the client will be able to get out what they need and we never see them again. But generally speaking, coaching works really well over a long period of time, with sort of like a balance between focusing on the outcome, that long-term goal, and the process of getting there, because it's the process where all the learning and the change happens.
Do you find that part of it incredibly difficult? Because I'm thinking today people just
Yes.
things are transactional, things are fast, like instantly. Like I order Amazon or I order online this morning, I get it before the evening, and now you're coming into this environment where it's like, oh, we gotta slow down, we gotta think through everything, and that can be difficult.
It is. It is an entirely different way of kind of experiencing life than what we're used to nowadays. It requires a mindset shift on the part of the client, right? And that's what I mean to some degree about putting in the work. You have to be willing to change the way that you perceive yourself in the world. In this specific example, you have to be willing to say, I realize that my focus on instant gratification isn't getting me what I want. How do I need to look at the world differently? So that's really what coaching helps you to do,
Yeah, and it's probably, it's more important than ever really in a world that's go, 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 to be able to like take that time to pause as well has a lot of benefits. Why is it crucial for clients to understand their needs for support, like in a coaching relationship?
I love this question. So every person is really different. And just like every person learns differently, like I'm coming at this from the perspective of an educator, I need to be able to adapt to everybody's learning styles. As a coach, I also need to be able to adapt to different people's needs for support. Right. And I ask this question a lot. What support do you need from me? What do I need to know about you in order to best support you? Because what best supports one person is not good for another. And I'll give you a very specific example. Coaches sometimes offer ideas, and which is totally within our scope of practice, as long as it's okay with the client. If I am someone who is getting coached, I am receiving coaching. I do not want someone to offer me ideas unless I explicitly ask. I do not like it. I resist it wholeheartedly, 100%, unless it's someone I have a very good relationship with and they know me really well. Some people really, really want me to constantly give ideas and insights because it helps kind of spur the brainstorming in their own head. They're not necessarily going to take those ideas and do them, but it helps to spur on the ideas, right? That's something I need to know about someone. And you may not always know what exact kind of support you need. Some people will tell me, I do not do well with negative reinforcement. I really need a lot of positive reinforcement, which is great because I don't do negative, but I need to know that so that I can ensure that I'm kind of providing a little bit of extra here and there until they get to a point where they're relying on their own self-efficacy. And so I think that's what it means is like either know what your needs for support are, or be willing to learn and have that conversation with the coach, right? Not everyone has that self-awareness, and that's okay when they first start off, but that is a conversation that does need to happen over time about what's working for you, what is not working for you. The coach should be asking for that feedback. If they're not, offer it for sure, but it is a conversation that needs to continuously happen over time because our needs for support can change at times too, right? There are times where I need someone to be be like really on me about all of the things. And there are times where I'm just so overwhelmed. I have to be like, no, please don't, So I think just having that conversation in the beginning and then ongoing over time is really important.